Welcome and welcome back. It's another amazing day in paradise. My name is Carlin Sanders. Most people know me as Kai, and I'm excited that you're here for this edition, this special edition that is an opportunity for people to get to know me and my son. We have been selling gratitude journals that God inspired me to create and put together, compile for a 6 week gratitude challenge. And with standing on the side of the road as often as we have drawn some attention. Outside of today, the cops had been called 3 times for us soliciting in the town of Cary, North Carolina, where we have a solicitor's permit. And so I thought, I think it's time for people to get to know us. Instead of it being um, the way it is um, that we are looked at in such a way that the people will, instead of seeing what we're about, is call the cops on us. um, it just makes sense to help people to know who we are. And so I'm excited to present some information that I call 20 questions to you guys, so that you guys can get an idea of who we are, what we're about, where we're from, why we're here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also, it stands as kind of a constant invitation to anybody that we meet in the future to check out this stream and say, hey, you know what, we put some information out there. If you're really interested in finding out more about what we're doing and who we are, then by all means, the information is there for you to check out, and we would love for you to do it. And so with that, um, you'll have to excuse me. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. Well, they're not necessarily technical. It's okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. We're going to go ahead and start. So, first of all, I'd like to introduce my son. His name is Wisdom, and that is a name that God gave him. I did not give him that name. Um, I did not want a name that was different. I wanted him to have a name I wanted him to have a family name. And so apparently in God's family, that is the name that he wanted him to have. So his name is Wisdom. Wisdom Chance is his name. He is 5.5, and he is a very dynamic, intelligent, handsome young Black man. It is my greatest honor to have brought him into the world under all the most of miraculous circumstances, I promise you. And so, yeah, it's an amazing gift. And so, as I introduced myself, I did say my name is Cara Lynn Sanders. My Most everybody knows me as Kai. I consider myself Wisdom's mom and student, and that is really important to me, because when God gave me his name, and I laughed and was like, "You're kidding," and he was like, "I'm not." He said that the reason why Wisdom would have the name he had was not for the things that he would learn, but for the things that he would teach. And so I have endeavored to be Wisdom's greatest student as well as his greatest teacher. And he has opened my mind to so many things that I never could have or would have conceived, in all complete honesty. Um, I have worked with children all my life, babysat, taking care of, pseudo nannied, for people. And when you have your own, it is a totally different experience. And Wisdom just, man, he just opened my eyes. Um, he just opened my eyes to so much that I did not know. And so I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to be his mom, and his student. Like, I was just talking today about one of the first lessons that really resonates with me, is that he said that was the lesson of be your own best friend. And I learned that from him because when he was a baby, we had this long mirror, well, it was long when you lay it down, but a full length mirror. And we laid it on, I laid it on its side against the wall. And he would crawl up to that mirror and he would look in it. And he would be, he would just be so fascinated by the person that was there, not knowing that it was him. And he would sit there and he would be in conversation with this person. It was just so hilarious. It just was amazing to me. And so I love that. That was one of the things that he showed me. But it was also that he helped me to see. Yeah, I went looking for information because there were things he would do that I didn't know, that I didn't understand, that I wasn't sure that he should do because I had never been a mom. I'd only been privy to some experiences with children. And so I learned so much by being his mom. And so it is my greatest honor to be Wisdom's mom and Wisdom student. And obviously that has, in the greater sense, that I am a student of wisdom, not just my son, but of all things that are wise. I am also the CBB, or other AKA Chief Bushel Blaster for L.U.V Enterprises, and I will share a little bit more about that later. I am also a member of the founding member of the Ubuntu Progressive Cooperative for African Centered Families, which is a homeschool cooperative that is a homeschool cooperative for families, Black and Brown families that have desires to homeschool their children or supplement the education that they're getting with a more African centered or centered around the African diaspora. And that's exciting to me, to be able to supplement Wisdom's education in such a way, and provide him with a unique educational experience that I think that I know he's going to flourish, and it will be much better for him than what would be currently offered. I'll just put it that way. Nothing against teachers. God bless all those who have gone through years of education to become one. I don't think it's for Wisdom. It's not traditional school. He's just a different child. And so being his mom and having fought to spend this much time with him so that I could know him, I just know that direction is the direction we're going in. Wisdom and I are also research assistants for God. That's what I call that. And I will explain that more later as well. In the meantime, the next question question 2 is, what is the dream? Oh my goodness. Well, my dream is just to be a mom on my own terms. Everybody else, I can't speak for anybody else, but a lot of people think that to be a mom is just, you have a child and you become a mom. But that's not what being a mom is for me. And I talked a little bit about being able to homeschool Wisdom. I see us having a full-on mobile tiny home on the back of a trailer for an 18-wheeler. I'm going to get my CDL so I can drive an 18-wheeler. And we're going to go across the country into communities around the country and talk to people about love and organize love in their communities so that we can bring some healing and bring some information and education. And so I see us going into different communities with different languages. Currently, Wisdom and I we're working on learning Spanish and French. Excuse me, through Duolingo, but he's also started learning Portuguese and Italian. And so I see us going into different communities and him translating for me, if I haven't learned it well enough myself, and bringing this remarkable experience to people. And I also see us traveling to different places around the world and actually, engaging in communities of native Portuguese speakers and, not just Portugal, Brazil. Brazil is, I think Portuguese is the national language in Brazil. Um, we'll go to um, we'll go to Ireland and places in France and Spain um, and Italy. That's the other one. Ireland he hasn't started yet, but I know he's going to want to because we met a gentleman who's from Ireland, and so that's my dream. I know right now people often tell me I'm a good mom, and I accept that. I accept that because for me, being a good mom means I'm an educated mom, that I'm not just leaving it to chance and how I raise wisdom, that the way that I am towards him is very intentional. But there are still things that I'm missing, skills that I'm missing that I want to learn, and that would make me a better mom or the best mom. And so that's what I'm interested in learning. That's part of what I want to do is to be the best mom. And the best for me to achieve that, there are two certifications I'm interested in completing that will make me the best mom that I can be, excuse me, and then help others to achieve successful relationships with their children as well. So that's the first thing. The rest of the dream is to own a house, to homeschool my son, to have a vehicle for more reliable and timely transportation, to be healthier. That has been um, it's it's a challenge. I wake up in pain every day because I have plantar fasciitis really bad. And so if you've been in Cary and you've driven by and you've seen me without shoes on, it's because my feet hurt. And they actually hurt more on the shoes that I'm wearing than they do when I'm on the floor. But at the end of the day and at the beginning of the morning when I wake up or in the middle of the night for a potty break, yeah, I'm in pain. So it is very, very challenging. Hey, Bud, can you turn that down a little bit, please? Wes, can you turn that down a little bit, please? And you can turn that to the side if you want by pressing that little square in the corner. It'll turn it around so you can watch it the long way. And so getting healthier is very, very important to me. When I was one of the programs I was going through, when I told the woman who was assigned as my case manager about having plantar fasciitis, she said that I would have to be on painkillers every day in order to manage it. And I knew there was a better way because I'd had insoles already and they have fallen because I've worn them so long, and so I need to get new ones. Um, but I haven't been able to afford them. And so I haven't been able to afford the whole system, I should say, because the ones that I had were under warranty, and I just haven't gone back. I wanted to be able to get the whole system so that I can properly support my feet and my arches, which are sincerely fallen, which are in really bad shape. And so being healthy is not just about me not being in pain, but me just being able to enjoy wisdom and play with him and have fun and do things that a lot of other people do with him right now. And so I want to have that opportunity, especially when we travel and we're on the road. Um, and we have those breaks where we're out and we're going to the park. I want to be on the jungle gym, or they don't even call it that anymore. I don't know what they call it, but I want to be climbing up the rock walls and swinging on the swings with them and things of that nature, because that's important to me as being a mom, as being actively engaged in all the things that he does. He says he wants to learn how to play soccer. I'll be running up and down the field. Go wisdom, go. And so, and then the final aspect of the dream is to launch L.U.V. And specifically in launching L.U.V, it's the Paid to Parent program is what it's called, or AKA the New Emancipation Proclamation. And so maybe I'll get a chance to talk about those a little bit later. Question 3, what are the certifications that I mentioned? Well, the first one is to become a workshop facilitator for the Circle of Security International. It's a parenting program. And the second one is to become a parent coach through JAI Institute for Parenting. The Circle of Security training changed my life. Not that it gave me new information because I was actually doing the very things that it was suggesting. It changed my life because it showed me how I had been brought up. And that was life changing for me. It helped me to understand how what I had gone through, what I had experienced as a child that I obviously couldn't remember because I was so young, and how that was leading to the decisions that I was making, to this very day, whether it has to do with wisdom or not. So that was very, very eye opening to me to have that experience. And so I think if people understood like what they experienced as a child, or what what they do as a child, and the potential things that as a parent they can do, then I think people would change their the way they operate, if we recognize how incredibly important what we do on a daily basis affects our children for life. And that is why, and when I look at wisdom, I'm so grateful that I had that, and that I've made the choices that I've made to raise him, and to have him raised. That's really important to me. Not everybody is raised when they're a child. Some people are just allowed to grow older, and there is a huge difference. So many people are stuck in their lives that they had as a child, it, and they don't realize it because it's a part of their subconscious conditioning that happens from the experiences that we have with parents mostly, but also the community that we're involved in affects it greatly as well. And so I've been very careful about who wisdom is around, who interacts with them, um, because he is just a loving child and he has never met a stranger. And I want to make sure that every stranger he comes in contact with treats him in that way that he deserves to be treated, stranger or friend or family, you know. So I'm very protective of him, and it shows. It shows in the way that he's grown and he's able to express himself so lovingly and openly. Excuse me, y'all have to excuse me. We were out selling our journals today, and so I'm a little bit tired, but it's okay. We're gonna keep pushing on. Okay, so how much do these trainings cost? Well, the Circle of Security parenting one is $1,000. It's a 2-week virtual training. And then the Jai one, I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. The last I knew, it was between 2,500 and 3,500 for a one-time payment discounted rate, or you can do a 10-month monthly payment for a 6-month course. And again, that's probably between 250 to 350 a month. And I think it was 350 to 450 a month if you do it by the month for the 10 months. Um, so the next question is question 5, and that is, what is your ideal way of accomplishing your dreams? Yeah. Well, part of it is selling the journals and the buttons. We didn't have any buttons today. I'm low on stock on everything actually, so I got some work to do. But the buttons simply say, well, they say, thank you for helping us bring dignity to poverty. And me and Wisdom's thumbprints are on there in the shape of a heart. And then it says kind wisdom. And then the gratitude journals, those will bring in sales just to get information out there and to bring some awareness to the community, but it's mostly to help people like to be happier. We live in a really traumatic time right now with COVID and everything like that, and parenting and schools being closed, and mask wearing and all that other stuff, and Delta variants, and there's a lot of trauma that's going on for people. And for us to be able to open our eyes and look at things and say, you know what, I'm grateful for this, and remember that on a daily basis. So the journal is set up as a 6-week gratitude challenge, and it's designed to to put people on the path to changing their life. So, but it's not enough. That's not going to generate the amount of money that I need for me to get 2 certifications, be a homeschool mom, be able to do this, that, and the other thing. Excuse me. So the other thing is, there's a cryptocurrency platform that I'm very interested in. And I would like to earn money for myself and for others, honestly. Once we get past the point of paying for this hotel room that we're in, then what I see happening is that I will help people. If they're not interested, if they can't afford to pay for it, then I will help people be able to pay um, to join this platform. And it's a referral based. It's a referral. It's all referrals. As people enroll, you get paid from them enrolling, and that's it. It's not a multi-level marketing, because multi-level marketing is designed to essentially be residual income because people are buying product over and over again. This is not what it is. To me, the best way to describe it is that it's a combination of a gifting platform as well as a crowdfunding platform. because the idea of crowdfunding is that you get a bunch of people to pay into your platform so that you can earn money, but a cut of that goes to the people who set up the platform. With this, there is you're getting back the money that people are paying in some way, shape, or form, and you're helping other people to advance, and you can generate revenue for those people who are helping you. And that's not what crowdfunding typically does. Usually you're the only one that's going to benefit besides you and the company who's collecting your money. This With this platform, everyone benefits who wants to benefit from it, and that's what I love about it. And so instead of inviting people to become a part of it and then telling them to get referrals, I just want to ask people to become a part of it and then generate those referrals for other people other people who are also interested in being in it without the referral aspect. So I see this as an ideal opportunity for me just because I meet a lot of people, and this would generate a greater stream of revenue in a much faster time, that would allow me to accomplish more, but having less money. And so that's one of the ways I see, um, that is the ideal way I see of accomplishing my dreams, is to sell these journals and buttons and get this information out there, but also to start my investment club, which is called the Kiss and Hug Club. And Kiss and Hug is an acronym. It stands for Keep It Samaritan Style and Help Us Grow. So KISS is Keep It Samaritan Style. And that goes back to the parable of the exceptional Samaritan, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And building it on this unique cryptocurrency platform, which is called Forsage BUSD. That's the cryptocurrency that they're using. It's a more stable coin, but I want to build it on BUSD first and then duplicate it on the Ethereum network, because the Ethereum network is of far greater value than the BUSD. So I'm into doing things that are innovative and new and fun, um, and where I get to do the work. Like this, I want to create this occupation for myself using this platform and helping not only myself generate some extra revenue, but helping others to do it as well. Okay, so question 6, why the gratitude journals? It's a good question. I kind of talked about it a little bit. But on the cover of the gratitude journal, there's a quote that comes from me. And it says, in order to change your life, you got to change your mind. And then it goes on to say that this isn't just making a different decision. This is actually changing the contents of your mind and how you process things. And so, like I was saying, we live in a very traumatic time in our nation's history, with wars and COVID and everything, right? Just turmoil. And so people need something to look at within their own lives that gives them control, to feel like I'm in control of this situation, and I'm grateful for these that help me to be in control. The gratitude journal also is what helped me to really begin the process of changing my life. I read a book long time ago, I can't even tell you the year, by a woman, but her name is Sarah Bon Breathnock, and it was called Simple Abundance. And it was a day book. And there was a message for every day. And out of that book, there were two things that I remembered. And one was, she asked what a woman needs. One of the entries was, what does a woman want? And she said, a nap. That was the answer. But the other one was this concept of keeping a gratitude journal. I don't remember her giving any instructions or anything like that. But so from what I've done, God led me to, to provide these instructions that help people not duplicate the same things all the time. And so that's really important. It's a product of love. Initially, when we were out there, we were selling buttons, between May and June. Then I started looking for products from other people that I could sell along with what I was selling, those buttons, because I didn't think that because the buttons didn't have a great value. They were important to me, but they don't sell for very much, right? And so this allowed me to pass on something that God allowed me to create. This came from my hands and my heart, and I'm so grateful for that. And the last reason why is because it's to start a movement. I do have a Facebook page, that's a Facebook group that's called the Appreciation Nation, and I would love to see that group grow and people, post stories and things that they're grateful for, and I think it would just be so cool. Anyway, I'm 25 minutes in. I'm taking too long to answer these questions. So let's keep going and go a little bit faster if we can, because I'm not even halfway through, or almost halfway through this broadcast. I don't want to keep you too late. So Question 7. What do you want people to know about the investment club you're building on the cryptocurrency platform? 1, I already said it's my ideal occupation, earning money for others while benefiting both wisdom and I. B, I describe it as a combination of gifting and crowdfunding, but it's built on a blockchain, so the rules cannot be changed. And C, no one is making money off of anyone. It is literally, and nobody has to do any extra work. I get to do all the work, right? 8, why do you call yourself a mom and student to your son? I think I explained that a little bit because of his name and because he was sent to teach me. When I was pregnant with wisdom, I knew that he was coming to change the world. And I knew that the responsibility was mine to work to change the world so that he could grow up to be whoever he was, because he's a young Black man. And when I knew before he was born that he was going to be a boy. And considering all the circumstances that he was brought into this world under, the one thing I wasn't going to do is let him believe or teach him that he was less than because of the color of his skin. He has no idea. He articulates with everybody. It doesn't matter what age, doesn't matter what color. He loves everybody. And you know something? Everybody loves him genuinely, because he genuinely loves. And so this world has to change for him. Everywhere else has to change for him. And I am determined to see that happen so that he gets to live the life that he was intended to live. What is a CBB, or Chief Bushel Blaster? So CBB obviously stands for Chief Bushel Blaster. Bushel Blaster comes from the scripture in Matthew 5, where Jesus is saying, he's talking about how a light was not meant to be put under a bushel, it was meant to be put on a mantle to give light to the whole house. Well, if we consider that every person is a light and that the world is quote unquote filled with darkness, then perhaps it's not because people are evil, but perhaps it's because they have bushels on their lights. That there are people walking around with several bushels on their lights that have been placed there by probably initially parents, siblings, other family members, friends, community members, teachers, until this light is so dim and that person has no idea who they are in the sight of God and how brilliantly they were meant to shine. And so my job as a CBB, as a Chief Bushel Blaster, is actually not to blast off bushels, because I can't change anybody. They have to change themselves. So what I am responsible for doing is gathering the resources to help people to blast their own bushels, to be aware of them, where they came from, and to blast them off for themselves and to keep them off. Because sometimes the person that puts the bushels right back on our light after we have done some work to blast them off is ourselves. We are our own greatest enemies. We are prone to self-sabotage. And so that is extremely difficult. So my job is to provide the resources so people can blast off the bushels and they can keep them off and keep keeping them off. You good? Wait a minute. What happened to the bowl? You don't see the bowl on the table over there? Excuse me. Oh my goodness, that's been sitting there since beginning. That's what you asked me for, silly. What does it mean to be a research assistant for God? Well, me and Wisdom have been through all kinds of experiences through the social services system, through ministries that are designed to help people who are in situations such as ours. And I don't think people really know what happens in those experiences. From my experience, it has been just moving people from one level of poverty to another. It doesn't actually move people out of poverty. It just gets them off the streets in a lot of cases. And I'll be honest with you, I've made the choice to be on the street at times because being in one of those programs wasn't worth it. And it's not that it wasn't worth it for me or that I'm too prideful. It was that as a mom who knows my child, it wasn't worth it for my son, and to put him through that trauma. We've been through it once, and I will refuse to do it again. And so, yeah, I refuse to do it again. And my job now is not, as a research assistant, is not just to have done the research, but now provide a solution, right? So the solution is love. And that's the next question. What is love? We are an investment company. We wisely invest the most valuable resources, which are time and money. Time, which you can't get back, and money, which you can. We invest in people, real estate, and businesses. That is what we're going to be. I see myself as becoming a real estate mogul. And the thing that I'm going to do, I hope that's the right word. the thing that I'm going to do the most is I'm going to take empty properties, I'm going to renovate them, and I'm going to put people in homes, not in shelters. I'm going to put people in homes so that they can establish themselves and then have a community of people that work around them and support them in the decisions that they're making for a better life for themselves and their families. What does love mean? Okay, well, love, first of all, love is spelled L.U.V. It's not spelled L-O-U-V, L-O-V-E. It's definitely not spelled L-O-U-V, but it's spelled L.U.V. And it has three meanings. First, as an acronym, it means learn your value. And yes, I use a little phonetic shortcut for your, spelling it with a U, not a Y. As a spiritual belief, it means God is love, and it's relating to the scripture in First John. And then as a definition, it's my personal definition that was revealed to me several years ago, and it's the opportunity, blessing, and challenge of seeing God or goddess in others, especially when they don't see them in themselves. Then the second part is honoring, reverencing, and nurturing that God or goddess within until it is manifest without. And so it's a compilation of different scriptures, of different quotes, and that is what love means, is seeing others as in their highest, greatest form of themselves, and then helping them to see it for themselves and live it, really. Our motto is quite lengthy. Our foundation, the foundation of our motto is building the village, raising the child, extending love, compassion, and mercy by dictionary definition, not by personal interpretation, bringing dignity to poverty, and moving individuals and families from poverty to prosperity. That's really important, that we get people and we move them from, and not from one level of poverty to another level of poverty, but from poverty to prosperity. Now, our pillars, we have the foundation. Those four statements are our foundation. Our pillars that uphold us are the life of Troy Anthony Davis, the parable of the exceptional Samaritan, and the third pillar is the 5 tenets and 4 goals of Black Love Day, which is celebrated on February 13th. So the first question would probably be, who is Troy Davis, and why is his life so important? Well, Troy Davis was an innocent Black man on death row in the state of Georgia who was eventually executed by the state of Georgia, and oh my gosh, the anniversary of his death is just a few days away. Um, a few weeks away. It's 17 days away. I knew that this year was his 10-year anniversary, the 10-year anniversary of his execution, but I had forgotten the date because I didn't want to remember it. Obviously, he was a friend of mine who I'd met when I was living in Hawaii. I started writing him. Please turn that down a little bit, baby. Is it? Okay. He was an innocent man on death row. He didn't commit the murder. The person who did, the person who did had on several occasions in a drunken stupor admitted he did it and that he framed Troy, and just, it was a very awful experience. And hearing Troy's story and meeting him in person and getting to know his family, I knew he was innocent. There was no way that he couldn't be. And what it taught me is how many people face false accusations in their life, aka bushels on their lights. And there are so many people that walk around now being in spiritual and mental and emotional prisons while being physically free. And it's awful. It's awful. And so Troy's legacy is what he left me to do, and to help people free themselves from the false accusations of other people by helping people to blast off those bushels. He didn't have that. He had an incredible support system with his family, and it wasn't good enough. He had millions of people around the world that supported him. He had hundreds of people writing him, and yet it was not enough. And so I feel like I need to help people the way that Troy couldn't be helped. Those who are in who are physically free but are in other prisons, to be free, to help them to be free, as an honor and tribute to Troy's legacy that he left behind. So the next question, which is question 15, is what makes a Samaritan so exceptional to me when others have called him good for centuries? Well, it all comes down to how the parable ends. first we have to establish that the parable was actually part of a conversation between Jesus and a lawyer, right? And so when Jesus and the lawyer were entering their conversation, Jesus asked the lawyer which of these three, showed um which of these three showed who was his neighbor, something to that effect, right? And the lawyer who he was speaking to said the one who showed mercy, not wanting to name the Samaritan specifically. Um, and I'm cutting corners for those of you that don't know this story. It's found in Luke 10. That don't know this section of scripture. It's found in Luke 10. And so Jesus says, "Well, go and do thou likewise." And I think that people have taken what Jesus said to mean that we are supposed to go and extend mercy. But the thing about mercy is that it's subjective, right? What looks like mercy for you doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be mercy for me. And so it can be very, very frustrating because when somebody wants to be extending mercy, and this is what I found in a lot of these social service agencies, they feel like they're extending mercy because they're doing something, that they're providing some sort of service that you don't have. But is that the mercy that I need? And does that make it better for me, or does it make me more uncomfortable? Um, and is that truly extending mercy if you're not extending mercy according to the person's need as opposed to what you're going to give? It's is a discussion, right? And so what should have happened, and what I truly believe that Jesus meant, is that he spent this whole time weaving this story about all the things that the Good Samaritan did, because we are supposed to imitate what the Good Samaritan did. And if we look at what the Good Samaritan did, we would see that what he did was actually exceptional. And I'm not going to go into detail about that right now because it is a lengthy bit of information, excuse me, to dissect and all that he did for the man that he found on the road. I will say this, that there are three characters in the story that I think are the most important characters, as opposed to the three that most people think are the most important characters. Most people look at the Samaritan, the Levite, and the priest, because those are the people that interacted with the wounded man on the road. Well, for me, it's the wounded man, the Samaritan, and the host of the inn. And most people don't even pay attention to the host of the inn because he shows up at the end of the story. The Samaritan says to him, he shows up at the end of the parable. The Samaritan says to him, whatsoever, gives him 2 coins, says, whatsoever thou spendest more, I will repay thee. And the Samaritan's gone. And that's the end of the parable. Jesus cuts it there. So again, I'm not going to say anything else about this parable and how it plays out, only to say that those are the 3 most important characters because their actions matter the most. The man who ends up wounded, who is traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, the exceptional Samaritan himself, and then the host of the inn. Those are the 3 most important characters in the parable of the exceptional Samaritan. So, question 16, what are the 5 tenets of Black Love Day, which I said was celebrated on February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, and was a creation of Mama Ayo Handikendi. She is a breathing seku. She teaches breathing exercises. Her website is Positive Energy Works, and the E from positive and the E from energy share 1 letter. And she's an amazing spirit. And she was the woman behind who stood behind creating Black Love Day, which has now been in existence for almost 30 years now. In the next couple of years, it was 28 years this year. So in 2 years, it'll be 30 years that has been in existence. So the 5 tenets of Black Love Day are love for creator, love for self, love for the family, love for the community, and love for the Black race, which she calls the human race, HUE, men race. Then there are also 4 goals of Black Love Day. So what are the 4 goals? The first is it's a spiritual alternative to the commercialized Valentine's Day to unapologetically celebrate Blackness. 2, for so-called Black people or our Black and brown people to demonstrate for 24 hours Black love. For so-called Black people to demonstrate for 24 hours Black love through celebration, service, apology, forgiveness, and transform self-hatred through the power of self-love, self-care, and self-awareness. This is powerful. That's the second goal. The third goal is for so-called white people, and she's just making it clear that we are all part of the hue HUEMAN race. So she puts so-called in there as we just dissect ourselves by color. For so-called white people to put love in action for a 24-hour demonstration of service, atonement, and reconciliation towards Black people while inspecting their own racial attitudes, fears, denials, privileges, and behaviors. And then the fourth one is to increase peace, to stop violence, and return to love to heal all of our relationships. So it's some deep stuff. Question 18, we're coming to an end here. I'm very excited that I was able to speed this up because I think it was going long and I didn't want it to go past an hour. Um, but it's important to share these things. The next one is question 18. Do you have any immediate needs? Yes, we do. Our most immediate need is to pay for the hotel room that we're in for at least a week. That's my goal. 7 to 10 days is my goal. We have been here and have thus far been able to pay for 3. It is heartbreaking to spend this much money, especially over her holiday weekend. But the people who have bought our journals have been extremely kind. They are paid. All of our products are name your price, and people have been very generous in their purchases. Um, so the idea is to get us stable for 7 to 10 days so we can to move past the bills. That's the idea. The stability and clarity are really the key for us to be able to accomplish our dreams, more for me. And this is the first time in 2 years that I've had both. um, this is sincerely the first time in 2 years that I've had the stability, and the clarity, and also the resources, to be honest with you, to move from poverty to prosperity. And that's been really, really important. A lot of people don't realize just the trauma that you go through in this experience. And so um, the objective is to pay for this hotel room in advance, for 7 to 10 days, and be able to work the magic that God has intended to happen. um, 18 or 19. Oh, I'm almost done. Why are you selling journals and living in hotels? Why aren't you getting help from a shelter or another social service agency or ministry? Well, I'm doing what God told me to do. Um, I'm living life on my own terms, and I'm showing my son that we don't have to be miserable. Um, we don't have to be miserable. The thing about getting services from a social service agency is that you are literally under their control. No, yes, their control, right? You're literally under their control. We were in a shelter. I could not control the people my son was around. It took over a year for me to prune back the things that had been grafted into him, the behaviors that had been grafted into him that didn't serve him or me. He was not getting enough sleep. He wasn't getting enough food to eat. I was dealing with a hangry child with an attitude, and there was no place for him to nap. And I was taking care of him. And nobody provided that space. And the people who were around me, us, though lovely people, had different parenting styles. And while I was exhibiting one type of parenting style, it was not the popular one. And so there was, even though it was against the rules, there were several people who were quite comfortable with using more um, caustic means of punishment, more traumatic means of punishment, and how they spoke with their children and how they treated their children. And I didn't appreciate that. And I won't ever put myself or my son in that situation again. We aren't that type of people. And unless you have somebody standing beside you, people aren't really listening because they're struggling and they just want to get through the experience that they're in. And so that's why it's important for Wisdom and I to do this, and as an example that you can move from poverty to prosperity. There are enough resources, and there's enough good people out there that will help you to do it. Um, it takes a village to raise a child, and we have had amazing people enter our village. And I don't dare start to name individuals, but I will name. Um, I will just say thank you to everybody who we've come in contact with. We've met some amazing people. Everybody who has crossed our path has been incredible, in some way, shape, or form. And my last question simply was, do I have anything else that I want to say? And it is simply thank you. Thank you to the Cary police who have been so kind every time they've been called because we're soliciting. I do have a solicitor's permit. And so what was interesting is, um, today, what I did differently is because the police have been called on us the last 3 times we were out selling stuff. Then this time I called them before we got started and let them know I was out there. And because the permit came from them, they could look it up in the system that I had one. And so that made it for a much smoother day. It was really cool. And we had a lot of amazing people come through. I had some great conversations, and just everybody has been so wonderful. And I'm just really grateful for that. I'm also grateful for a place at the table, for their staff and their volunteers, and for everybody who has helped us. There's one particular young man whose name I won't mention. Well, maybe I will. His name is Devon Robinson. He has a company by the name of D Life Skills, where he takes recreational activities and applies and teaches them to children, and in a way that they learn life skills from them. And he is looking to be able to connect with schools and individuals in order to be able to do that. And I had asked him if he would provide a ride for us, for me and Wisdom. And he came, and instead he hung out. He provided the ride so I could, bring our signs and our products. And he helped set up. And he spent 3 hours with Wisdom while we were out there after we set up, and played with them and took us to the store. And so I do specifically need to say thank you to Devon because he made today totally remarkable in all the ways that he served me in Wisdom. And he deserves all the business. So if you're interested, I'm gonna put his information in the description, maybe not now, but later when after we've eaten and all that other good stuff. But thank you, Devon Robinson. He is destined to bring so many great services to people and really change the world as we know it. He's a truly remarkable young man. But I met him because he's an employee at a place at the table, and I was interested in what he was doing for our homeschool group. And then God just said, ask him. And I did. And it was the best decision that I could have made to listen. So, and then I think the town of Cary, just for the solicitor's permit and for the people that have passed through, whether they lived in Cary or not, I just want to say thank you to everybody. And that's about it. Huh? Again? We're in Cary. Let me get finished, okay?
No, what's the hotel that's called?
Let me finish this, and I can talk to you, okay? I'll let you know. And so
he wants to know what hotel it is. So.
I understand, but not while I'm broadcasting. I'll let him know in a minute, okay? And so, yeah, I just have to say thank you. And that's the whole point of having a gratitude journal, is just to be able to say thank you for everybody else, because I have tried to keep names. But if I know I'm going to miss somebody, and I don't want to do that publicly. But I just want to say thank you so much to all of you who have come out and who have just supported us. We are going to change the situation for us, but it is our intention to save it, to share it. It is our intention to change it for so many other people who are going through similar things that we've been going through, and that even who haven't. Because if you're a parent, then you deserve to be a parent, and your children deserve to have you as a parent, and not just any kind of parent, but a good parent, an exceptional parent, the best parent that you can be. Because parenting is hard, but it is the absolute most important thing that any of us will ever do in our whole entire lives. And so I just want to say thank you again. I'm going to say that we love you, Wisdom, and I love you. We appreciate you. This has been an amazing journey. And oh my goodness, this has been an amazing journey. And it is not over. It is just, we are trying to close this chapter on our external poverty and move to external prosperity so that we can help others do the same. So we love you. And don't forget that today is another amazing day in paradise, and I hope you enjoy creating it, and then I hope that you enjoy creating, and that you enjoy the day that you created. That's what it comes down to. And with that, I say peace, God's continued blessings. Peace, love, God's continued blessings, and always smile. S.M.L.E. Yes.